Hi everyone, it's Miss Elise from the Morristown and Morris Township Library, and today's art adventure for you is actually based on a piece I think you probably know very well. It is the Sistine Chapel ceiling by Michelangelo di Lodovico Buonarroti Simoni. It was painted between the years of 1508 and 1512, so it is almost about 510 years old, which is insane. And it's amazing that it has survived all those years with perfect preservation, and we can still see it today. It is located inside the Sistine Chapel, which is in the Vatican City in Italy. The Vatican City is right next to the city of Rome, just for location context. The Sistine Chapel ceiling is a fresco, which is a watercolor painting done rapidly on wet plaster, or a ceiling which becomes fixed to a substance like the plaster when it dries. So it was a really great technique for a lot of artists to paint on walls and ceilings. The importance of this piece is not only that it has stood the test of time, but it's because Michelangelo was commissioned to depict the books of Genesis from the Bible onto the ceiling of the chapel by the Pope, who is the head of the Catholic Church. And while he was typically known for his work in sculpture, he took on the project anyway, and it turned out to be a masterful work of art. This piece is from the Renaissance, meaning rebirth, period in Italy, where art in Europe had taken a turn from not looking realistic to becoming more realistic and challenging the ideas of what art in itself actually represented. Michelangelo was able to, for the first time ever, depict scenes from the Bible without overt religious overtones, which is incredible for art history. If you look at this specific section of the ceiling, it almost doesn't really look like it's a scene from the Bible. It looks more like an everyday scene with just random people. And so therefore, it's art it was art that was made for the sake of creating beautiful works of art, and not just to create something that was religious and taught people something more about the life of Christianity. So, when Europe was in its medieval period, art didn't really look very realistic. It kind of looked really off, and art was made for teaching the Bible because a lot of people couldn't read back then. So, with the Renaissance, there was this rebirth of creating art for art and learning the masterpieces of the skills that we use in art today to create realistic looking works of art. So now Michelangelo and other artists like Leonardo da Vinci and Raphael are creating art because they want to show off their mastery of the skills that they've learned, but also because they want to create some beautiful works of art. And with that in mind, let's get into today's craft. So these are the materials we are going to be using for today's craft. You are going to need some sort of gel pen or Sharpie equivalent. I'm using this precise gel tip pen, pilot pen, but you can use whatever you have offhand. You're also going to need a watercolor palette. I'm using this one, which has quite a few different varieties of colors, but you can use whatever you have offhand as well. You're also going to need a small bowl of water and a paper towel to dry your brushes on. And you're also going to need some different types of watercolor paintbrushes. I'm going to be using this large square tip brush, this fan watercolor brush, and this small detail watercolor brush. You can use whatever you have offhand, but these are the ones that work well for this project. You're also going to need watercolor paper. You can't really use normal copy paper for watercolors just because it's going to completely soak through the paper, and as you can see, watercolor paper has this beautiful grain on it, and that's really going to help the color and pigment stick to the paper a lot better than if it were copy paper or something like that. So let's rip ourselves a page and let's get started with the craft. So I'm first going to be dipping my brush into the blue and black with a little bit of purple to create the sky, and then going to be doing the bottom half of my paper with a blue and layering on top of it with a darker blue and some purple, and I'm going to be leaving a small bit of light blue in the center for our moonrise. This is a landscape at night, so I'm trying to get my colors as dark as possible. By just continually layering all of my colors together, I'm going to be getting this effect. As you can see, I've left a little spot of light in the middle on both the sky and the water, and that's to create the effect of the moonlight's light. I'm also adding some rocks around the corners to create a bit of a harbor, and shading them so that when the farthest they are from the light, the darker they are. And as you can see, I'm just darkening up a little ship in the background and the water. And next I'm going to be using some white acrylic paint to just spray some stars onto my painting with my brush by just flicking my finger across the bristles. So you can see here. And once you've signed your painting, we're kind of done with this craft. And just like the frescoes, you've used watercolor paint to successfully create a work of art. It looks really cute and minimalistic, and obviously you can choose whatever type of landscape or portrait that you want yourself, but in case you don't have any ideas, this one is here for you. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Bye!